Hi, we're Doug and Mary Lou Anthony. Thank you for this opportunity to share about the great adventure that God has for us.
We could go on and on about what we do with Freedom to Lead, but to simplify things, we're going to share with you one pastor's story.
This is Abhi Satya. He is a pastor and a church leader in Orissa, India. He grew up in a rural village with no electricity and was the first person in his entire family to finish local school. Abhi became a follower of Jesus Christ in his youth and followed God's leading to the big city college and seminary, where he prepared to be a pastor and leader in the church.
And after many years of higher education, God put a burden on Abhi's heart to plant churches, but he failed miserably. Nobody was coming to Christ. And Abhi said, all the things that I had learned and was now teaching in seminary, these things did not work for planting churches.
After searching and praying, God led Abhi to trade in his preaching for Bible stories, and his shirt and tie for the local kurta shirt. And he traded the Western pews and buildings and hymns for sitting cross-legged on the floor of house churches and singing local tunes.
And do you know what happened next? People came to Jesus Christ, and the churches began to grow and multiply. But then came one major problem.
As we took on the oral communication method, the churches started to grow very fast, and we had exponential growth in our churches. And we were planting churches everywhere, but we didn't have adequate leaders being trained to take over. And so though the churches were being planted, but they were not getting stronger. We were in need of leaders.
Leadership, that's the pressing issue of the day. And not just for Abhi's church, but for ministries throughout the 1040 window, where people are good at sharing the gospel, but not good at building and leading healthy churches. You see, the church is expanding far faster than its capacity to train leaders. One of the foremost church planting ministries in the world says that over 40% of their church plants fail for lack of competent pastoral leadership.
I had read a lot of books in my academic side on leadership that was very different. That was a book-oriented, very bookish and intellectual thing. And I didn't know how to convert that to my oral people and develop leaders. I was thinking that it's only the educated people can become leaders. So I had no hope to raise leaders from the grassroots level. But when FTL came to us, we had a hope, we got a hope that yes, those grassroots people who cannot read and write also can become leaders.
Freedom to Lead International was formed in 2009 specifically to address this gap in pastoral leadership development that Abhi just spoke of. And in just a few short years has had an amazing impact on the churches in Abhi's ministry, as well as many other churches throughout North India and Nepal.
You see, until now, all leadership training around the globe has been designed for literate learners and delivered through literate methods.
Freedom to Lead's mission is to cultivate Christ-centered leaders through story, symbol, and song to unleash the whole gospel in local communities.
This
Freedom to Lead curriculum is a trailblazing development in the missions world. It enables story-centric pastors in Abhi's ministry to become competent leaders, and it does this using non-literate methods throughout. Doug and Mary Lou work with artists from Abhi's ministry to create new songs using indigenous poetic forms, song forms, instruments, and language. These are added to carefully selected Bible stories, life stories, contemporary stories, and meaningful symbols. It is through vigorous engagement with these stories, symbols, and songs that story-centric pastors become competent leaders. As Abhi says, the songs have an especially powerful role in this process.
Songs and the music are the parts of our lives. Oral culture plays around songs and music. Right from the birth, our people start singing the song until we go to the grave. So if you take the songs and music away, I think we would miss half of our culture, or more than half of our culture. Now that FTL has brought the songs and music into it, that makes the model complete and people feel at home. They use their own cultural rhythms and musics and songs, and that makes them excited.
One of Doug's FTL colleagues says this about him. What Doug does not tell you is that he is the only person in the world that we know of who is doing this kind of work. Yes, a lot of people are working with nationals to compose new songs. And yes, a lot of people are working among story-centric learners. But the combination of song development and leadership training among story-centric learners is something entirely different. And that is very exciting. Does leadership training make a difference? Let's ask Abi.
I'm very excited, and I see a bright future. We were in fact worried because the churches were growing, and the weak leaders would weaken the church. But now that we have this model in place, we believe that we have a long way to go, and I think we are very hopeful about reaching out to the nook and corners of the rural parts of Orissa.
We know the impact this leadership training has already had for pastors like Abi. But I believe in 20 years we will look back and say that the story-centric curriculum from Freedom to Lead is the single greatest missions development of my generation. And I believe that many unreached peoples from all over the world, people in villages far from Abi, will have a strong witness for the gospel because of it. I truly believe that Freedom to Lead's work is this important to the kingdom. And for that reason, Mary Lou and I are committing the rest of our ministry lives to this endeavor.
But we cannot do this alone. Would you become part of our financial support team and help us bring this training to more Abis of the world?
We are looking for long-term partnerships on our support team. We need to raise over $104,000 a year. Would you prayerfully consider making this ministry a priority in your budget? We are seeking 3 cornerstone partners at $1,000 to $1,500 a month, 5 anchor partners at $500 a month, 5 foundation partners at $250 a month, 10 core partners at $100 a month, 20 sponsors at $75, and 25 friend partnerships at $50 a month. We also have an endowed fund that can double the ministry impact of a single large gift over the next 20 years.
We would love to sit down with you and share more stories like Abi's and to answer any questions you may have. Will you give us that opportunity?
Thank you for watching today.
Amor netar